Spotify has millions of users and thousands of engineers behind it. But what if I tell you that today we're going to build many of the same core features ourselves? By the end of this course, you'll have a complete music streaming platform featuring authentication, playlists, search, file uploads, listening history, role-based admin features, and a persistent audio player that works across the entire application. But we're not just going to build a software. You'll also learn how to work with AI like a senior engineer, using it to accelerate development, solve complex problems, and increase productivity while maintaining full control over the architecture, code quality, and technical decisions. Hi, I'm Noor, and this is Programming Fluency. We're going to build this application from scratch using Claude Code, Next.js, TypeScript, MongoDB as our database, Better Auth for authentication, UploadThink for file uploads, and other modern full-stack technologies. Are you ready to build a project that will sharpen your full-stack skills and give you something impressive to showcase in your portfolio? If your answer is yes, grab your favorite drink and let's build something amazing together. Hey everyone and welcome back. In this lecture, we'll start setting up the Mods app project from scratch. And as usual, we're gonna begin by creating a GitHub repository and connecting it to our local project so everything is properly version controlled from day one. Then we're gonna install Next.js, which will be the full stack framework we use to build the entire application. Once that's done, we'll have a clean starter project ready to start building features step by step. So first of all, I need you to head over to your GitHub account, and if you don't have a GitHub account, I think you should create one, okay? You can't be a developer and don't have a GitHub account. Then we're gonna create a new repository from here. And then let's name it Mods app, or let's say Mods course, whatever. And then leave the description as blank. And then I'm gonna make the visibility private for now until I finish recording this course. And then our next step is to go to our desktop and create a new folder. And also let's name it Mods course. And then I'm gonna open my IDE, which is Visual Studio Code. Of course, you're free to use whatever IDE you want, but in this course, I'm gonna use Visual Studio Code. I'm gonna open a new window, and then I'm gonna open that folder using VS Code. And then the next step is to open a new terminal, like this. And now we want to link the two repositories together, the GitHub repository and the local repository. We want to link them together, okay? How are we going to do that? We're simply going to copy all of these commands and paste them here inside our terminal. Okay, but what are these commands? Let's take a look at them. This git init will initialize a new repo or a new git repo, and this will add a readme file. This will create a first commit and add a message, and this will change the name of the master branch to main, and this will actually do the linking. This command will link this GitHub repository to our local repository. And finally, this will push the changes to the remote repository, which is this GitHub repository. So simply I'm gonna copy all of these commands and just paste them here and press enter. And then it might ask you to sign in to your GitHub account using your browser. So in that case, just do it. It's very simple. I'm gonna click here on sign in with your browser. And that's it. I completed authentication in my browser, and right now the two repositories are linked together. And then our next step is to install Next.js, as I told you. So head over to the Next.js website, which is nextjs.org, and then click on Get Started, and then go to Installation. And then from here choose npm and simply copy that command, which is npx create next app at latest. And that at latest flag will make sure you get the latest version of Next.js. And now let's go back to our terminal. And first of all, I'm gonna remove that file, that readme file, and that folder, that .dist folder. And then I'm gonna paste that command here. But I'm gonna say npx create next app at latest. Then I'm gonna write period, because I want to install that Next.js application inside that directory, that mods course directory. So I'm gonna type period here, and then I'm gonna type -- yes to answer all the questions with yes. Normally, while you install Next.js, it's gonna ask you, do you want to install React? Do you want to install TypeScript? Do you want to install Tailwind CSS? And of course, we're gonna answer yes to all of these questions. So to save us some time, I'm gonna type -- yes to answer yes to all of these questions. So right now I'm gonna press enter. Now I'm gonna say yes here. There we go. As you can see, it's installing dependencies, React, React DOM, TypeScript, Tailwind CSS, and so on. There we go. Now all the packages are installed, as you can see here. Success. Now let's clear our terminal and explore our Next.js project. Here inside that app, you can see the homepage of our application and the layout of our application. And this is the globals.css file, which will include all of our styles. And this is the favicon. And let's actually delete this file, as we're gonna add our own favicon later. And here inside the public folder, we're gonna also remove all of these files, as we're gonna add our own assets later. And now let's open the home page of our application, and let's basically remove all of that. And here I'm gonna just return a simple h1 element saying mods app, and that's it. Now let's start our development server by typing npm run dev inside our terminal and then press enter. And now, as you can see, our development server is running on localhost 3000. So simply open your browser and type localhost 3000 here, and this is our application, mods app. Let's clear that error. Yeah, as we were saying, this is our application. And now let's actually start creating our own logic. But before writing our own logic, let's push the changes to GitHub. We're gonna open new terminal and type git add all, and then git commit message. And let's provide a message saying setting up our project. And then let's say git push to push the latest changes to GitHub. There we go. Now let's go back to our GitHub repo and reload the page. And as you can see, this is our project. So now let's move on to our next step. Before we start building projects with AI, we need to talk about how to actually talk to AI. Writing effective prompts is one of the most important skills you can develop as a developer working with tools like Claude, ChatGPT, or Gemini. The difference between a bad prompt and a good prompt is often the difference between fighting the AI for 20 minutes while burning your tokens or getting exactly what you need in one response. And you should know that what I'm about to share next is inspired by an article published on Claude's official blog, and I will leave the link for it in the description of this video. At its core, prompt engineering is just clear communication. AI models don't read your mind. They respond to exactly what you tell them, how you tell them, and the context you give to them. If your prompt is vague, the output will be vague. If your prompt is clear, specific, and intentional, the output becomes dramatically better. Let's start with the most important rule. Be explicit. A lot of developers write prompts like fix this bug or improve this code. The problem is that fix and improve mean different things to different people, right? Instead, you should say exactly what you want. For example, refactor this function to improve readability, remove duplicated logic, and keep the same behavior. Now the AI knows what better actually means. The second key is context. AI gives better answers when it understands why you're asking something. Imagine you say something like, don't use bullet points. That's a rule, but it's unclear. Now compare it to something like, I prefer natural paragraphs because I'm recording a video and bullet points feel too formal. That context helps the AI make better decisions beyond just that one instruction. And this actually matters a lot in real development work. For example, if you're building a SaaS app and you ask, design a database schema, you'll probably get something generic, right? But if you say, this is a small SaaS app, I want no more than 5 models optimized for simplicity and maintainability, the output becomes far more aligned with your actual goal. Another powerful habit is being specific about constraints. As developers, we deal with constraints all the time: frameworks, libraries, performance, deadlines, and your prompts should reflect that. So instead of saying build an upload system, you can say design a file upload flow using Next.js app router, upload thing and Prisma, following best practices and keeping it minimal. Constraints don't limit the AI, they actually guide it. And sometimes the easiest way to explain what you want is to show an example. And this is incredibly useful when you care about format or style. For example, if you want summaries in a very specific format, show one example summary and say, now do the same for this input. AI models are very good at pattern matching when the pattern is clear. Another simple but powerful technique is being clear about the role you want the AI to take. Instead of asking a generic question, tell the AI from which perspective it should think. For example, you might say, act as a senior software engineer, or think like a product designer, or write this as a technical educator. And this will help the model frame its response in the right direction from the start. As developers, we do this all the time in real life. We wouldn't ask a junior engineer and a staff engineer the same question and expect the same answer, right? The same idea applies here. Specifying the role sets the level of depth, tone, and decision-making style you want. And that said, you don't need to overdo it. A simple role description is usually enough. The goal isn't to over-constrain the AI, but to give it the right lens so its output matches your expectations. And one underrated but extremely important technique is giving the AI permission to say, I don't know. Without this, models may guess or even hallucinate. A simple sentence like, if the information is missing or unclear, say you don't know instead of guessing. A simple sentence like that can massively improve reliability, especially when working with APIs, security, or architecture decisions. And as tasks become more complex, you'll notice that one giant prompt doesn't always work. And this is where breaking things into steps helps. For example, instead of asking, analyze this code base and refactor it, you can do it in stages. First, ask the AI to summarize the code. Then ask it to identify problems. Then ask it to refactor one part at a time. And this mirrors how we think as developers, and it produces more accurate results. Another common issue developers run into is formatting. If you don't want explanations, say so. If you want JSON, say so. And if you want no preamble, say so. For example, return only valid JSON, no explanations, and no markdown. Remember, clarity beats politeness every time. The big mistake most people make is thinking prompt engineering is about clever tricks. Well, it's not. It's about clarity, intent, and structure. You don't need advanced techniques for most tasks. If you're struggling, it's usually because the prompt is unclear, not because the model is weak. One important thing to understand is that you don't have to get the perfect results from the first prompt. In fact, most of the time you won't, and that's completely normal. Writing effective prompts is an iterative process. You give an initial prompt, review the response, then follow up with adjustments. And you might ask the AI to improve clarity, change the tone, add missing details, or refine a specific part. That back and forth is part of the workflow. So you need to have the right mindset. Be patient. Be prepared to put in some effort. Just like writing code, you rarely get everything right on the first try, right? You refactor, tweak, and improve until you reach the result you want. And this is very important to remember. AI is not magic. It's an extremely powerful tool, but only if you know how to use it properly. The better you are at guiding it, correcting it, and fine-tuning your prompts, the better the output you'll get in the end. Think of AI as a smart collaborator. You still need to lead the conversation, tweak the inputs, and shape the final result. So, to wrap all of this up, you can think of almost every effective prompt as having 4 core parts. First is the role, who you want the AI to be. For example, a senior software engineer, a product designer, or a technical writer. Second is the context, what you are working on, why it exists, and how the output will be used. Third is the output, what you actually want back. That could be code, an explanation, a review, a refactor, or a specific format. And fourth are the constraints, the rules, things like the tech stack, file limits, style preferences, best practices to follow, or things to explicitly avoid. If you clearly communicate these 4 pieces, role, context, output, and constraints, you'll get dramatically better results with fewer iterations. You don't need long or complicated prompts, you just need complete ones. Finally, remember this. The best prompt is not the longest prompt. It's the shortest prompt that reliably gets you the result you want. Prompt engineering is a skill. You'll get better by practicing it while building real projects, which is exactly what we usually do in this channel, Programming Fluency. Over time, writing good prompts will feel just like writing good code, intentional, structured, and focused on outcomes. Imagine having a senior engineer sitting next to you 24/7, reviewing your code, suggesting improvements, helping you debug, and accelerating your development speed. That's exactly what modern AI coding agents are becoming. The software development world is changing fast. Today, being a great software engineer is no longer just about writing every single line of code yourself. It's about knowing how to work with AI agents effectively. We're becoming more like orchestrators. Our job is to guide the AI, manage it, review its output, and make sure it produces the best possible product. The better we communicate with it, the more powerful we become. And right now, Claude Code is without a doubt one of the best AI coding agents in the industry. It's incredibly strong at reasoning, understanding context, and helping you move faster without sacrificing quality. So, in this tutorial, I'll teach you everything about Claude Code. I'll show you how to install it on your device, integrate it into any software project you're building, and start using it as your superpower AI agent. And now let's see how can we install Claude Code on our device. First of all, I need you to go to the Claude Code official website. You can find the link in the description of this video, or you can simply open Google and search for Claude Code. and then go to this website, and it will take you to Claude Code website. Then I need you to click on documentation here. As you can see here, this is a Claude Code overview. Claude Code is an agentic coding tool that reads your code base, edit files, run commands, and integrate within your development tools. And in order to get started, you have many options. As you can see, you have multiple options here, but in this tutorial, we're gonna cover the terminal and the VS Code options. So let's start with the terminal. If you're working on Mac OS or Linux, you can copy that command and paste it inside your native terminal. And if you're working on Windows like me, you have two options. You can use Windows PowerShell or Windows Command Prompt. It doesn't matter, I'm gonna use PowerShell. So I'm gonna copy that command and then open an app named Terminal inside of Windows and open Windows PowerShell from it. Of course, you can open PowerShell right away. It doesn't matter, okay? Just open any PowerShell terminal. And then paste that command here and simply press Enter. And I think this is going to take some time, so while it's being installed, I need you to create a new account on Claude Code. So just go here and click on Try Claude, and then create an account. It's a very simple registration process. So actually I'm gonna continue with my Google account, and right now I'm logged in using my Google account. So after you log in, you're gonna be redirected to this page. As you can see, this is the user interface of Claude's web application. It's similar to ChatGPT. I'm of course assuming you are familiar with ChatGPT and used it before. And you can chat with it from here, you can ask it anything you want, and you can choose the models from here. They have several models like Sonnet, Opus, Haiku, and so on. And from here you can upgrade your plan. And you should know that in order to be able to use Claude Code, you have to have a subscription plan. You have to subscribe to any of the plans, okay? There is no free plan in Claude Code. So I think the Pro plan is suitable for you if you're just testing Claude Code for the first time. And then you can go to your settings and track your usage from here. You're gonna have current session, which is gonna reset each 4 hours, I think. And also you're gonna have weekly limits, which is gonna reset each week. And from here, this is the extra usage. If you ever buy extra credit or extra usage, you can track your usage from here, okay? And now let's go back to our terminal, and as you can see, Claude Code successfully installed. Right now, if I type this in my terminal, Claude, you can see that the Claude command is recognized by our system because Claude Code has been installed on our device. But actually, I'm gonna close that terminal and I'm gonna go to my desktop and create a new folder. And let's name it Claude Code. And then I'm gonna open VS Code. I'm gonna open a new window and then open that folder using VS Code. And then what I'm gonna do here is that I'm going to use the VS Code integrated terminal. So I'm gonna click here, go to terminal and choose a new terminal. Close all of that. And there we go. I'm having a PowerShell terminal here inside VS Code. And again, I can type Claude here, press enter. There we go. This is the Claude interface. You can choose your text style from here. I'm gonna choose dark mode. And then, as I told you, Claude Code doesn't have a free plan. You should have a subscription plan. You should be subscribed to a paid plan. So this is why Claude Code will prompt you to log into your account. You can choose any of these options: Claude account with subscription, Pro, Max, Team, or Enterprise, whatever you have. You can log in using Anthropic console account or third-party platform. But in that case, I'm gonna choose Claude account with subscription because this is what I have. I'm gonna press enter. It's gonna open a browser window like that. And then simply it's gonna ask me, Claude Code would like to connect to your Claude chat account. Do I authorize? Yes, of course. I'm gonna click on authorize. There we go. Right now I'm logged in with my Claude account. So I'm gonna get back here to VS Code terminal, and as you can see, login successful. Press enter to continue. So I'm gonna press enter. It's gonna tell me Claude can make mistakes. You should always review Claude's responses. Okay. Press enter to continue. Yes, use recommended settings. Then it's gonna ask me, do I trust this folder? I'm gonna say yes. And there we go, Claude Code now is ready to use. I think it installed the VS Code extension for me. I wanted to do that by myself, but more on that later. Now I'm gonna press enter to continue. And simply right now I can ask Claude Code to do anything for me. For example, let's tell it to build a simple to-do app for me using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript with a nice UI UX. And that's it. Now I'm gonna press enter and see magic happens. Now Claude Code is doing its thing. Okay, great. Now it created a to-do.html file, and this is the code it wants to create. You should read that code carefully, but we're just providing an example here. And actually, it's gonna give you several options here. It's gonna ask you, do you wanna accept these changes right away? You can say yes to accept, but in that case, you're just accepting that change. Or you can say yes and allow all edits during this session. Choosing that option will allow Claude Code to continue editing without asking you, okay? And of course, you can say no and reject those changes. So I'm just gonna say yes and allow all edits during this session. And there we go. The to-do app is ready at todo.html file. Just open it in your browser. Here is what it includes, and those are the features, add tasks, and so on. And those are the UI highlights. Okay, now let's open this file. Of course, it created that file here. And by the way, this is the icon for Claude Code extension. As I told you, apparently it installed the extension for us. But for now, let's open this using our web browser. I'm gonna reveal in File Explorer and then open that file using the browser. And this is our to-do app. I think it looks nice, right? Let's add any task. Let's say learn Claude Code. Then click on add task. The task is added here. Those are all the tasks, active tasks, completed tasks. Okay, this actually looks nice. And this is pretty much it. You can ask Claude Code anything you want. And you should know that Claude Code has many modes. Like here, when we choose to accept all edits, it did toggle the accept edits. If I click on Shift plus Tab all together, it's gonna switch to plan mode. If you choose the plan mode, Claude Code is gonna explain its plan to you before generating code. Okay, let's click on Shift and Tab again. It's gonna shift back to the first mode, which is the ask mode, where it's gonna ask you before doing a single edit. And now if you type /help, yeah, this one, and choose it, it's gonna show you a help menu. This is a general menu. This is the commands menu. And from here, you can choose to go to the docs. Let's see it. Okay, this is the documentation that we saw before. Let's click escape. And actually, if you want to switch between models, you can type /model and choose between models or toggle between models from here. The default one is Sonnet 4.6. You can choose Opus, Haiku, whatever you want. And also if you want to have like a long-term memory for your project, you can type /init, and this will initialize a new Claude.md file with code-based documentation. Let's choose it and see what's gonna happen. Okay, here, first of all, it's explaining to you that the repository contains only todo.html file, a single file, which contains vanilla HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, which is an app with no build system, dependencies, or tests. Okay, and then it wants to create a Claude.md file, which is gonna have all the data about this app. This can act like a long-term memory for Claude. Claude can always refer to this file, this Claude.md file, in order to get data about your project, in order to have extended memory about your project. So I'm gonna click yes, which is gonna create that file. See here, Claude.md created. It documents the single file architecture, how to run the app, and so on. Now we can see it here. This is the file that we are talking about. If I right click on it and open preview, this is the preview for that MD file. Of course, you can edit this file. You can add anything you want. Let's say that you change the project architecture, the context, or anything like that. You can always go back here and write whatever you want. Okay? And also in Claude Code, you have features like agents. If you choose agents, this will allow you to create a new agent. Basically, you can create a sub-agent that has its own context window, custom system prompt, and specific tools. Like you can create an agent that can act as a code reviewer, another agent that can act as a code simplifier, and so on. There is also something called MCP, which will allow you to manage MCP servers. Of course, right now, no MCP servers configured, but you can actually run some MCP servers, which will allow you to connect Google Drive, your Gmail account, and stuff like that. You can read all about it. You can also create something called skills, which will allow you to create skills files. Skills are something like, let's say, recipes to do something. Let's say you have your own way of creating something or maybe reviewing code. So you write that way in a text file called skills, or actually a single skill file inside the skills folder, and Claude will always refer to that skill file and do a specific task based on that skill file. Of course, if you're interested, you can also read all about it, okay? And now let's see how can we install the VS Code extension. If we go back here and choose VS Code, you can see that you can install it for VS Code or for Cursor. I'm gonna click on VS Code. It will open VS Code for me, okay? And it took me to the extensions panel here. And actually here in the extensions, you can search for Claude Code right away and choose this one, which is the official Claude Code for VS Code from Anthropic Company. Of course, it's already installed here. Now let's uninstall it and restart extensions, and this is the view that you should see. So simply click on install, and after it's installed, you're gonna see that icon appear here. Now let's reload our window and then click here on that icon. It's gonna open a Claude Code window inside VS Code like that. And actually I like using the extension. I like it better than the terminal one. So I'm gonna move it to a new window here. As you can see, it has a better user interface. And from here I can do pretty much everything that we did before. I can toggle between the modes from here, ask before edits, or edit automatically, or plan mode. Like for example, I can tell it to change the background color of this app. Press enter. Okay, what color would you like the background to be? The current one is dark. Okay, let's say make it a bit brownish. Anything actually. And here it's gonna show you the changes it wants to make. Here on the left hand side, this is the previous state of our code base for this file, and this is the code it wants to add. So what you should do is that you should read that code and decide whether you want to accept that code or not. So in that case, I'm gonna click here in order to accept it, and that's it. It wants to also update the hover. Okay, say yes. And right now it's done. If I go back here and reload the page, yeah, it changed the background color. And that's pretty much it. Also from here you can track your usage by saying account and usage. This is my usage so far. I can also switch models from here, and I can type account and choose switch account in order to log out. Then I can click here again in order to log back in. Then it's gonna open the browser tab again, ask me to authorize, so I'm gonna click authorize. Now I can go back here and I'm logged back in. And that's it. This is how you can install Claude Code and integrate it inside any software project you're building. And as you can see, Claude Code is so powerful, it can do miracles for you. Alright then, now that we have Claude Code installed on our device, we can comfortably start prompting. But before we start building or prompting, I want to take a few minutes to walk you through the prompts folder. And by the way, this folder is the most important asset in the entire course, because it contains all the prompts we'll use to plan, build, and refine the Moods app. So instead of writing everything from scratch, we'll leverage these prompts to work more efficiently and get consistent results from AI. And actually, let's start by reading that prompt, the project overview prompt. Of course, you can find that folder, that prompts folder, in the GitHub repo. And if I didn't already mention that before, you can find the link for the GitHub repo in the description of this video. So let's read the project overview prompt. It's an MD file, so you can open preview and read it nicely like that. There we go. This is the Moods project overview prompt. We're gonna tell the AI agent whatever it is, okay? It doesn't have to be Claude Code. We're gonna tell it, you are a senior software engineer with deep expertise in the Next.js app router ecosystem, TypeScript, MongoDB, and modern full-stack SaaS architecture. See, here we are giving the AI agent a role, as we specified before. You should always start with a role. Your job is to build Moods, which is a music streaming SaaS web application, exactly as described below. Read every word carefully before writing a single line of code. Okay, what is Moods? Moods is a music streaming web platform, as we said, inspired by Spotify and Netflix. Of course, we want to build it as a SaaS product. It allows users to sign up, browse tracks uploaded by admins, and they can build personal playlists and stream audio directly in the browser, of course through a persistent bottom player, just like Spotify. The app tracks each user's listening history to surface their most played tracks. Okay, who is it for? It's gonna be designed for regular users, which are going to be our main users, and admin users. Regular users are people who want to discover and listen to music curated by the platform. And admin users are a pre-approved group of people identified by their email who can upload tracks to the platform. There are no public artists, no social features, no payments, and no subscriptions. Of course, this is for now. Of course, since this is a SaaS application, in the future we might implement those features and take subscriptions from users. We want to monetize this SaaS application at the end of the day, right? But for now, it's gonna be without all of these features. It's a closed platform where admins upload the music and users listen. Very simple. Okay, what are the features? First of all, we're gonna need to implement authentication in order to allow the users to sign in and sign up using their email and password or using their Google account by implementing the OAuth sign in. And on registration, the system automatically checks if the user's email is in a pre-approved admin list. If it is, they are assigned the admin role. Otherwise, they get the user role. And the session-based auth is gonna be handled entirely by Better Auth. And then we're gonna need to implement a home page, which is a Netflix-style browsing experience with a grid of track cards. Something like that. We want to implement something like that. Each track card shows the cover image, title, artist, duration, play count shown as a headphones icon plus the number, and a button to add it to a playlist. Hovering on a card reveals a play pause button overlay on the cover image. Like that. See here, when I hover, it displays a play pause button. And then we want to display two sections, your music and good vibes. Like that. See here, your music and good vibes. For the your music section, we're gonna display the current user's most played tracks. And in the good vibes section, we're gonna display the 20 most recently uploaded tracks. And also we want to display a persistent fixed navigation bar at the top with the Moods logo on the left, nav links centered in the middle, which are home and my playlists, and we're gonna display a search icon and a user avatar drop-down on the right. Exactly like this nav bar. And then we wanna implement a search feature, which is gonna be triggered from the nav bar. When the user clicks on the search icon, like here, if I click on the search icon and start searching for anything, it's gonna start giving me results like that. Like, let's search for this track, Wait Too Long. I'm just gonna search for Wait, and then it's gonna give me that track as a result. And then, of course, I can play that track. See here? And now I'm gonna hit play so that you can listen to the audio. Very nice. Now let's continue. As we were saying, that search feature is gonna be triggered from the nav bar, which is gonna open a full page overlay with a search input, and the search is debounced for 400 milliseconds. Debouncing means that I'm going to allow the user to type for 400 milliseconds, then I'm gonna start getting him results. Like here, I can type wait, then the application is gonna debounce or wait for 400 milliseconds, then it's gonna fetch the results from our database. Okay? This is what debouncing means. And the results will show as track cards, as we said. Clicking any of them will play the track and closes the overlay, exactly as I showed you. And then we want to implement an audio player, the audio player that you saw playing the tracks, which is gonna be a persistent fixed bottom bar visible on all authenticated pages. It's gonna show the current track's cover, title, and artist on the left. And in the center section of that audio player, we're gonna display skip previous, play pause, and skip next controls above a clickable seek bar with time stamps. And on the right section of that audio player, we're gonna display a mute toggle icon and a volume slider. And that player should automatically advance to the next track in the queue when the current one ends. Every time a track is played, a play event is recorded to the user's listening history. And after that, we want to create the playlists feature. The playlists page is gonna be displayed or nested under Home Playlists. Users can create named playlists. Each playlist is shown as a card with the playlist name, track count, and a play button that queues all tracks. Users can delete playlists. On any track card anywhere in the app, there is a plus icon button that opens a drop-down showing all the users' playlists so they can add that track to any of the playlists, I mean. Okay? Individual playlist page, which is the page that's going to display a single or individual playlist, it's gonna show all tracks in a list view with the ability to remove individual tracks and play the full playlist. Very, very nice and neat. And then of course we want to implement the admin feature, where admins can actually upload tracks. It's gonna be implemented inside the admin route, and inside of this page or inside of that admin page, we're gonna display a centered form with fields for track title, artist name, cover image upload, and audio file upload. The cover images will be maximum of 4 megabytes, and audio files will be maximum of 64 megabytes. Of course, we're gonna use Upload Think free tier, but later if you wanna monetize this app and make it a real SaaS application, you can buy pro plans or subscription plans from Upload Think and then increase the size of the files, okay? And then after successful upload, the user is redirected to a success page. Of course, we are talking here about the admin user, only accessible to users with the admin role, as we already mentioned. And then we want to implement a little profile feature where users can change their profile photo from the avatar dropdown in the nav bar. And of course, photo is gonna be uploaded via Upload Thing and saved to their Better Auth user record, of course, inside our own database. Okay? And that's it. This is all the features that we're going to implement. Now let's discover our tech stack. We already mentioned that before, but here we are telling the AI agent that this tech stack is strict and non-negotiable. Do not suggest, introduce, or replace any library with an alternative. Every technology listed here must be used exactly as named. Of course, you already know the stack: Next.js, TypeScript, MongoDB, Better Auth, Upload Thing, ShadCN, Tailwind CSS, React Hook Form and Zod, Sunner for toasts, Lewiside React for icons. And now let's explore our data models, the models for our database. We're gonna have a model for the allowed admin or allowed admins. It's gonna have an email, which is the pre-approved email address in lowercase, and then we're gonna have a model for the track, and each track should have a title and artists, all of type strings, and also it should have cover URL and audio URL, which are URLs returned by Upload Thing, meaning that we're gonna upload the files first to Upload Thing and then retrieve the URLs of those files, then save them inside our database, inside the track model, so that we can retrieve them later from our own database, okay? And then the duration, which is gonna be a number in seconds, and uploaded by, which is gonna be the user ID of the admin who uploaded the track. And of course, created at and updated at timestamps to track when was the track created or updated. And then we're gonna have a model for the play history, which is gonna have the user ID, track ID, and played at. And another model for playlists, which is gonna have a name, user ID, track IDs, and created at and updated at timestamps. And also we're gonna have a model, of course, for the user, but this is going to be managed by Better Auth, and we're gonna make some modifications on it. Or let's say they are not modifications, we're gonna add actually some stuff to the user model. Each user model is gonna be created, as we said, by Better Auth, and Better Auth is gonna add user, session, account, and I think a verification to that model. And we ourselves are going to add an additional field, which is the role, which is gonna be either a user, a regular user, or an admin. And we're gonna default it, of course, to user. And for the routes and access controls, those are going to be our routes. We're gonna have a route group for authentication. We're gonna name it auth, which is gonna include sign up and sign in. They are not mentioned here, but we're gonna mention them later. And then we're gonna have a route for the home, another one for home playlists, another one for a single playlist page, and another one for admin, and finally another one for admin success. And of course, this is going to be the users who can access those routes. Like for example, this is the home route or the landing page of the app. This is going to be public. As we said, this is the landing page of the app. And also the auth routes are going to be public, as those are the registration routes. And these routes are going to be for authenticated users. And of course, the admin routes are going to be for admins only. And this access control is enforced at two levels. At the proxy.ts file, this is the middleware file in Next.js 16. This is the first line of defense. It protects route groups at the edge by checking for an active session and redirecting unauthenticated users to the sign-in page before the page even loads. As I told you, this is a middleware file. And also at the layout files, this is the second layer. Each protected layout, like home, admin routes, or home and admin layouts, will call auth.api.getSession from Better Auth to verify the session and check the user's role. And inside the admin layouts, we're gonna redirect users who are authenticated but not admins to the home route. And this is going to be our design rules. We're gonna use dark theme only. Basically, we want a design like that. I inspired that design from Spotify, by the way, both Spotify and Netflix. I inspired that design from Spotify and Netflix, okay? So those are going to be the design rules for our application. Dark theme only, we're gonna use these colors and stuff like that. And then those are going to be our environment variables. This is for our database. Those are for Better Auth authentication. This is for upload thing. And those are going to be for Google OAuth. And those are some constraints and rules. Read these before writing any code. Since we are using Next.js, we're gonna always create a loading.tsx file and error.tsx file fallbacks for every route segment. This is, by the way, a best practice in Next.js, okay? Use chat-cn UI skeleton components in loading files, and always create a notfound.tsx file for routes that may return no data, like a playlist detail page. Server components fetch data directly, and client components never fetch data. They receive data as props, or they can call server actions directly. And this keeps data fetching on the server where auth, business logic, and DB access belong. And this will avoid client-side waterfalls and makes the data flow easy to trace. And by the way, this rule may be revisited in the future, but must be followed strictly for now. Meaning that we might change this rule in the future, but for now I want it to be followed strictly, okay? I don't want to fetch data from the client side. This is just an engineering preference, okay? And of course, it depends on the team that you're working with. You agree on this kind of stuff, okay? Then we're gonna tell it to always use the use server directive at the top of all server actions files and use a use client directive only when necessary, meaning that we want to use client components only when necessary. And by the way, all of these things that I'm teaching you are best practices in Next.js, okay? It's really recommended to use client components only when necessary, okay? Like if you are using event handlers, React hooks, browser APIs, etc. And then for the MongoDB and Mongoose, we're gonna use connect to database at the top of every server action or API route that touches the database. And register models with this pattern. We're gonna first check if the model exists, we're gonna return it. Otherwise, we're gonna create it in order to prevent hot reload errors. And never create Mongoose models for Better Auth owned collections, which are user, session, account, and verification. And then let's see the rules for the server actions, and this is important by the way. We want all mutations like the create, update, and delete to return an action result with a certain type, and that type should be a success equal to true or success equal to false, and in that case we want to return an error, or of course in the case of success we want to return the data. Okay? And use helper functions like OK, which is gonna return some data, or this function OK void, fail message, and all of these helper functions is gonna live inside libactionresult.ts file. Wrap every action body in a try catch, and on a database error return db fail, which gives the user a generic friendly message. And for the server actions that only read data, like loading tracks for the home page, should return the plain data type directly. For example, if you are returning a list of tracks from the database, if something goes wrong, just return an empty array, like here, okay? Do not throw any errors, and the page will simply show nothing, which is fine. The user doesn't need to know why. He doesn't need to know that we encountered an error in that case, okay? And server actions that actually do something like creating a playlist, deleting a track, or uploading a file must return action result, as we said before, so the UI can show the user whether it worked or failed. Okay, this is pure logic. This is our business logic. We want to provide the best possible user experience. A simple way to think about it is that if a user clicked a button and is waiting for a result, use action result. If the page is just loading data in the background, return the plain type and silently return an empty array on error. Always re-verify session inside server actions and never trust that the layout already checked it. This is production grade stuff, okay guys? Auth checks come first, then validation, then DB work, in that exact order. For authentication, auth session is checked in layout files using auth.api.getSession. Wrap the getSession call in a try catch in layouts. On failure, redirect to that route, which is error equal to session failed. And upload thing middleware must use request.headers directly, not headers from next headers. And this is coming from the upload thing documentation. You're gonna see it yourself. And actually for upload thing, we're gonna have 3 upload endpoints, one for track audio. As we said, it's gonna be a maximum of 64 megabytes, and another one for the track cover, which is gonna be maximum of 4 megabytes, and the third one is gonna be for the profile photo, the user profile photo, which is gonna be 2 megabytes, maximum of 2 megabytes. And as we said, auth in upload thing middleware is done this way. We already touched on that before. And then for the forms, we're gonna use React hook form with Zod schemas. We're gonna use Zod for validation. Validation schemas live in a validations folder, and types are inferred directly from those Zod schemas. This way. And then we're gonna need to always create a player state to know if the user is currently listening for something, right? And since this is a simple state, it's not something complex at all, we're gonna use React context for that purpose, okay? And also we're gonna need to display play counts next to each track. Like here, see, this track is played 4 times. This one played 1 time. This is 3 times. This is 6 times. You get the idea, right? And for the expected output, I'm telling the AI agent that before writing any code, summarize your understanding of this project in a plain language, covering all of these points. What the app does and who uses it, the 2 user roles and how they differ, the main pages and what each one does, how auth and access control work, how the audio player works end to end, how play history and play counts work, and any assumptions you are making. If anything is unclear, ask before proceeding. Alright then, now that we read the project overview prompt, what is our next logical step? Of course, our next logical step is to open Claude Code from here. Let's click on the Claude Code extension and let's move it to a new window. And then we want to tell Claude Code to read that prompt, understand it well, and execute it. So let's actually tell that to Claude. And I'm gonna use that microphone, which will allow me to record a message for Claude Code. So I'm just gonna click here and start talking to Claude Code, okay? I need you to read the overview prompt, understand it well, and execute it. You can find that prompt in the prompts folder. And that's it. Very easy, right? I just said what I wanted, and here it is written here. Now I can simply send that to Claude by clicking here, and see magic happens. Alright then, now we got a result. Let's read it carefully. Claude Code is telling me, here is my understanding of the Moods project, what the app does and who uses it. Moods is a closed music streaming SaaS platform. Think Spotify and Netflix in look and feel, but without public artists, social features, or payments. Admins upload curated music, regular users browse, search, stream it, and organize tracks into personal playlists. All listening is tracked. The 2 user roles are user and admin. Role assignment is automatic, no manual promotion is needed. Those are going to be our main pages. Auth and access control, we're gonna do it using the proxy.ts file and our layout files. Audio player end to end. A single audio element lives in a useref inside player provider, and we're gonna use React context for that feature. Okay, play history and play counts. So everything looks great so far, and here it's telling me everything is clear. Am I ready to proceed? Should I start with prompt number 2, which is the database prompt? Actually, no, we are not ready just yet. Okay, why? Because actually I want to do several things here. The first thing is that I want to have a permanent context, a permanent memory for that project. And as you already know, AI models have like this context window where after a while the AI agent loses context, it loses memory. It's like amnesia or something like that. It suddenly loses its memory. So we want to avoid that. How can we do it? Actually, we can use something in Claude Code, memory. So here, first of all, I'm gonna tell Claude, I need you to do several things for me. Number 1, I need you to create a persistent memory for this project, which you should always automatically refer to before doing anything, and also use it as a progress tracker, meaning that you should update it after implementing each feature. And of course, you should create that memory depending on the instructions I gave to you inside the project overview prompt. And then number 2, I need to create the Claude.nd file. See this file? It's already generated for us when we installed Next.js. It generated a Claude.md file and agents.md file. Both of these files are used as a general rules regarding this project, and those rules can be used by Claude Code in the case of Claude.md and by basically any AI agent in the case of the agents.md file. Meaning that if you are using any other AI agent, it will look inside that file, agents.md. Let's say you are using Codex, for example. It will look inside this file and understand the rules of your project. And if you are using Claude Code, it can look inside that Claude.md file. So here basically I want to tell Claude to create both the agents.md file and Claude.md file with the rules, or let's say the general rules of this project, and also get them from the overview prompt. And then after that, we want to create some skills for this project. And if you're not familiar with skills in Claude Code, they are created here inside your project, inside a directory named .claude, okay? And those skills are kind of recipes. They tell Claude Code how you do certain things in your own specific way. So here we're gonna tell Claude, number 3, I need you to create some skills for the important and repetitive tasks that we are going to do throughout this project. And then we're gonna tell it create those skills inside this project directory inside the .claude directory, and also generate those skills from the overview prompt. See how important the overview prompt is? It's the most important prompt of our project, right? It basically told Claude Code everything we need, and based on this prompt, we're gonna generate our memory, our general rules, and our skills. So now let's send that to Claude and see magic happens. Okay, now it's gonna plan out those tasks and execute them in parallel. First of all, it's gonna create a persistent project memory file, and then it's gonna update that memory file, and then it's gonna rewrite the agents.md with project rules from the overview prompt, and then create a Claude.md file with project rules, and finally create project skills inside the .claude commands. No, I don't think it should be created in a commands folder. if I go here to the Claude Code skills documentation, and if you read through this documentation page, you can see that you should create skills like that. See here inside the .claude directory, we create a skills directory, then the skill you want. And here they are telling you that every skill needs a skill.md file. Like here, for example, when we are creating some skills for this project only, it's specific to a certain project, which in our case are going to be specific to the Modes app project. We should create them inside .claude directory and create a skills folder, and then create a folder with the skill name, and then for each skill we're gonna create a skill.md file. This is the right way to create skills. So I'm gonna copy this documentation page, and here I'm gonna reject that from Claude, and here I'm gonna tell it create the skills following the instructions here from Claude documentation, and then I'm gonna paste all of this documentation page here and just press enter. Okay, now it's telling me I'll create all three items. Let me first check the existing structures and read what we need. Okay, now it's gonna create everything in parallel: the memory file, agents.md, claude.md, and all the skills. I hope it got it right this time. And now it's gonna start by creating a persistent memory for this project. And by the way, it creates that persistent memory inside your C drive, okay? Not inside your project. See here, inside your C drive, .claude, projects, and then a memory for your project. And this is the name of the file, project_modes.md. As you can see, those are the project information, everything about our project, and it should be updated regularly. So I'm gonna accept that, and then it's gonna update the agents.md file inside our project, in which it's going to add the general rules of the app inside this file, as we said before. So I'm gonna accept it, and then it's gonna do the same for the claude.md file. And now it's gonna create a memory index for the modes project. So let's accept it. And now it's gonna create the project skills inside .claude skills, which means that it got it right. Okay, first of all, it's gonna create a skill named implement prompt, which is gonna be a skill for implementing a prompt. See here, this is the description of the skill. Implement a modes project prompt file end to end. Use when the user says implement prompt n, do prompt n, or execute prompt n. You should read the prompt file, check project memory for current progress, and then implement all features described. And those are the steps to follow inside this skill. So I'm gonna accept it. And this is a skill to create any new server action. And those are going to be all the things we asked for whenever Claude creates a server action for us. So we're gonna accept it. And this is a skill for creating a new Mongoose model. This skill should be used or should be followed when creating a new Mongoose model. So I'm gonna accept it. And this is another one when creating a new route segment, like for example, always create loading and error files. So I'm also gonna accept it. And this is a skill for updating progress. This is for Claude itself when updating the progress, so I'm gonna accept it. And this is for checking the progress, okay. And this one is for modes conventions. Remember when we said that for mutations, we want to return an action result with a type using these helper functions. And for queries, we want to return an empty array in case of errors. Remember that? And we also said that we want data fetching to happen only on the server side. We want some stuff for the forms, Mongoose models, auth, the same stuff that we talked about them before. So we're gonna accept that. It's a very good skill. There we go. Now it's finished. It has created everything. It created the memory, the skills, and of course the project docs, which are agents.md and claude.md files. So right now we have everything we need and no room for mistakes. So let's move on to our next feature. Alright, before we start building features, we need a place to store our data, right? In this lecture, we'll set up our database using MongoDB and then connect it to our application with Mongoose. We'll create the database connection, organize our models, and establish the foundation that will allow us to store and retrieve entries throughout the app. And then once this setup is complete, we'll be ready to start building the core functionality of modes with a solid database layer in place. So, first of all, I need you to go to the MongoDB website, go to mongodb.com, and then simply click on Get Started. Then you can sign up or in using your Google account, or you can simply create a new account following this simple registration process, okay? But for me, I'm gonna use my Google account. Then you're gonna be redirected to your dashboard, a page like that. First of all, create an organization for yourself. I created an organization with the name of my organization, Programming Fluency. And then inside that organization, you're gonna need to create a new project. So from here, I'm gonna view all projects and then click here on New Project. And then let's name the project Modes Course. There we go. And then click on Next. And then click on Create Project. Then after that, create a cluster. Click on Create here. And then from here, choose a free plan. You can name your cluster anything you want. I'm gonna leave it as it is, cluster 0. And then for the region, choose anything. I'm gonna leave it as it is as well. And then I'm gonna click on Create Deployment. And then from here, you can see your own username and password. I'm gonna change my username to Prog Fluency, which is Programming Fluency. And then click here on Create Database User. And then choose a connection method. Go to Drivers. And then we're gonna need to install MongoDB inside our project. So we're gonna copy that command and run it inside our terminal. Let's copy it. Then let's go back to our project, open the terminal, and paste that command. Then press enter. And now MongoDB is installed. And then our next step is to add our connection string to our application code. We're gonna copy that connection string, and then let's go back to our project and create an environment variables file. We're gonna create a new file and name it .env. And then we're gonna name that environment variable MongoDB underscore URI equals to, and then we're gonna paste that connection string. There we go. Now let's save it. And while we are here, I'm gonna create another file for you named .env.example. There we go. And inside this file, I'm gonna leave all the environment variables for you without their actual keys. So you can always refer back to this file as a reminder of the environment variables you're gonna need in this project. Very nice. Now I'm gonna need to go to the .git.ignore file and remove the star from here to only ignore the .env file from pushing to GitHub. Now let's go back here and click on Done. And then I need you to go to Database and Network Access, and then go to IP access list, and then I'm gonna delete my own IP and add IP address, and then actually I'm gonna allow access to every IP, okay? Because later when we deploy our application to Vercel, we want the Vercel server IP to be able to access our database, okay? So how are we going to do that? Simply we're gonna type here 0.0.0.0/0. And as you can see here, they are telling you that this access list entry potentially allows access to all IP version 4 addresses. And this is exactly what we want. So I'm gonna click on confirm, and that's it. We are done here. Now we're gonna need some way to talk to our database, right? How are we going to do that? Simply we're gonna use a package named Mongoose. This is an ORM that will allow us to talk to our database, query our database, add data, remove data, read data, or update data. It will allow us to do all of the CRUD operations, okay? So I need you to go to Google and search for Mongoose Next.js and simply choose the first result here. And this is the documentation of how to use Mongoose inside Next.js in order to talk to your database. So let's read that documentation, understand it really well, and then we're gonna copy and paste this documentation and give it to our AI agent, whatever it is, as I told you before, and simply tell that AI agent to set up Mongoose for us, okay? Now, let's read it. They are telling you that Next.js is a popular framework for building full-stack applications with React, and Mongoose works out of the box with Next.js. And here is a basic example of using Mongoose with Next.js app router. You simply copy and paste that code. You're gonna import Mongoose from Mongoose. So in that case, of course, we're gonna need to install Mongoose, okay? And then get your MongoDB URI from your .env file, and then simply establish the connection. And then you should export that DB connect function. This is the function that's going to open a connection to your database, okay? You're gonna export that function from this file. This is a mongodb.js file or TS file if you are using TypeScript, which is true in our case. You're gonna export this function and then use it inside your code like that. Let's say we are using it inside a server component or an API route. We're gonna import this function and simply call it here in order to open a connection with our database, okay? And this is how you define your models. For example, here they are giving you an example to create a user model. You're gonna import Mongoose from Mongoose and then create a user schema by saying new mongoose.schema, and then say that that model should have a name of type string, email, and that email is an object that will have type of type string, and required is true, meaning that that email is mandatory, it's not optional, okay? And that timestamps equal to true, meaning that we want to record the time where that user was created. And also, if the user is updated at any time, we want to also record that date and time when that user was updated, okay? And here we are exporting that user model in order to be able to use it inside our project. Here, if it already exists, we're gonna export it right away, or if it doesn't exist, we're gonna create it and then export it. And then this is the rest of the documentation. We already read everything we need here. Okay, great. What is our next step? Our next step is to read the database prompt in order to give it to Claude Code and then allow Claude Code to set up the database for us, okay? Now let's read it carefully. This is the database prompt, as we said. We're gonna provide a context saying a MongoDB Atlas project has already been created and the connection string is already stored in the .env file as a MongoDB URI. You do not need to set up Atlas, create a cluster, or create any collections manually. MongoDB creates collections automatically the first time data is written to them, okay? Meaning that when we use our application, when we actually create data, MongoDB will create collections automatically for those data. And this is the part 1 from our prompt, which is the database connection. I'm gonna tell the AI agent that I will provide the official Mongoose documentation page, the page that we just read together, and then I'm gonna tell it read it carefully and follow it exactly to write the database connection logic. Create a file inside a DB folder named mongoose.ts that exports a single function called connect to database. Here they did name that function dbconnect, but I want to name it connect to database. Whatever, you can name it whatever, anything you want. And this function should read the MongoDB URI value from the environment variables through a clear error if it's missing, connect to MongoDB using Mongoose, and simply return the Mongoose instance. And then part 2 is the data models. We want to create it inside DB models, and then we want to create models for allowed admin. We want to create a model for an allowed admin, which will contain an email of type string. It should be required, unique, stored in lowercase, and white space trimmed. And no timestamps needed on this model. And then we're gonna need to create another model for the track, for each track that we upload to our database, right? Each track should have these properties: a title of type string, artist of type string, cover URL of type string, and an audio URL of type string. We're gonna save the tracks inside our upload thing project and then retrieve the URLs of those tracks and save them inside our database, so that we can use those URLs inside our application. Of course, all of these are required. We're also gonna need a duration of type number, the duration of the track, of course, uploaded by, which is gonna be a string, required, and that record is gonna tell us who is the admin user who uploaded that track, okay? And of course, created at and updated at. And those, as we said, are auto-managed by Mongoose by simply saying timestamps equal to true. And then, since we are going to implement a search feature inside our application, we're gonna need to add a text index on title and artist, which will power the search feature. Add it like that after the schema definition. After you define the schema, say track schema.index title equals to text and artist equal to text. And then we're gonna need to create another model for the play history, which is gonna store one record every time a user plays a track in order to trace their listening history. Records are never updated, only added. And that model will have a user ID, a track ID, and a played at timestamp. And then another model for the playlist, which is gonna have a name, user ID, tracks IDs, created at, and updated at. And then we're gonna tell the AI agent that I expect that output. List every file you are about to create and then actually create them all. And right now, the only thing left is to actually implement this feature. So I'm gonna go to Claude Code, and then I'm gonna click on the microphone and tell it, read and execute the database prompt, and I will provide the Mongoose documentation below. Then here, simply I'm gonna go to the Mongoose documentation, copy everything from it, and then go back here and paste that documentation text, and simply press enter. See here, it created a to-do list for itself, so it will install Mongoose package first by typing npm install mongoose here, and then this is the rest. It's gonna update next config file for Mongoose compatibility. Maybe this is something mentioned in the Mongoose documentation, okay? And then create the mongoose.ts file, then create all of our models, and finally it's gonna update the progress tracker in memory. Remember, we created a memory for this project, so it has to update that progress tracker inside the memory. So I'm gonna accept that. This will allow Claude Code to install Mongoose. And then, as it said, it will update the next config file. Here it will add experimental ESM externals equal to loose, server components external packages Mongoose. Okay, I just want to check, does this exist here in the Mongoose documentation? Well, actually, yeah. Here, it's telling you that you might get that error, that type error. So in order to avoid that error, you're gonna need to add that code to the next config file. And now create the mongoose.ts file here. Okay, this is exactly as we asked for, so I'm gonna accept it. And then it's gonna create the allowed admin model, as we said, also inside a models folder inside the DB folder. So let's read it. First, it's gonna create an interface for the allowed admin, which is gonna extend the document, and that document is coming from Mongoose, okay? This is a Mongoose document. We're gonna extend it in order to inherit all of its properties like created at, updated at, I think, stuff like that, okay? So we're gonna extend that document and add an email property to it, which is of type string. And then we're gonna create a new schema for the allowed admin, and that schema is gonna infer its type or get its type from that allowed admin type. Of course, we are adding I here as a short for interface, okay? You can change that if you want. If you don't like that, don't do it. You can even define this as a type, not an interface. This is just personal preferences, okay? And here we're gonna say that that email is gonna be an object, and that object is gonna have a type of type string. It's gonna be required, it's gonna be unique, it's gonna be a lowercase, and we're gonna trim it. This is everything we asked for. And also here we're gonna export that allowed admin model. If it exists, we're gonna export it right away. If it doesn't exist, if this is the first time, we're gonna create it for the first time ever and then export it. Okay, this is very nice. I'm gonna say yes. Then it's gonna create a model for the track. This is an interface for the track. It's gonna create an interface first. Each track, as we said, should have a title, artist, cover URL, audio URL, etc. You know these stuff. And this is the schema for the track, and we're gonna index it as we said. So I'm gonna accept it. And this is the play history model. I'm gonna accept it. And this is the playlists. Okay. Everything looks correct. Very nice. I'm gonna accept it. And finally, it's gonna update the memory. So I'm gonna also accept it. See here, for example, it's updating some architectural rule. Like here, previously it said, or it was mentioned, to take or import this function at the top of every server action or API route, and here it added that that function should be imported from that path, db mongoose.ts. So let's accept it. There we go. Now it's finished. Our database is set up. And here is everything that was created. This is a summary, and all models are created. Now we are ready to move on to our next feature, which is the authentication feature. Alright, before we start building the core features of the app, we need to handle authentication, right? In this lecture, we'll implement the authentication system using Better Auth, which is the most comprehensive authentication framework. It's a very powerful and modern authentication solution. It will allow users to securely sign up, log in, and manage their sessions with minimal effort and great flexibility. And this step is actually very important because everything in our app, in the Modes app, is personal, right? Each user should only have access to their own data, their own playlists, their own playing history, etc. And once this is set up, we'll have a strong and secure foundation to build the rest of the application on top of it. So, first of all, I need you to head over to the Better Auth official website, betterauth.com, and then click on Get Started. Also, we're gonna read this documentation, understand it, and then we're gonna copy and paste everything from it and give it to our AI agent, and the AI agent will handle the implementation. Okay, very nice. Learn how to configure Better Auth in your project. First of all, of course, we're gonna need to install the Better Auth package by simply typing that command in our terminal. So actually, let's do it manually. I'm gonna copy that command and I'm gonna go back to my project, open the terminal, and then paste that command. And then we're gonna need to set environment variables. Inside that .env file, create a secret key or add a secret key, which is a secret value used for encryption and hashing. It must be at least 32 characters and generated with high entropy. We can click on the button below to generate one. So let's actually do that. I'm gonna click here on generate secret and then copy that environment variable, that whole secret, and simply I'm gonna go to my project and then go to the .env file and then paste that variable here. And let's copy that variable name, then open the .env.example and simply put it here. And actually I remember that we have all the variable names, all the environment variable names inside the project overview prompt. Yeah, here. Yeah, here. So let me actually copy all of them and just paste them here. And that's it. You have your .env.example file. Of course, you can find it in the GitHub repository. And then we're gonna need to set the base URL, which is the base URL of your root app. In case of development, we're gonna set it to localhost, and then later when we deploy our app to Vercel, we're gonna use our domain name, our hosted domain name, as a base URL. So I'm gonna copy that and I'm gonna add it here in the .env file, and then we're gonna need to create a Better Auth instance. Create a file named auth.ts in one of these locations. I think in our case we're gonna create it inside the lib folder, and inside this file import Better Auth and then create your auth instance. And make sure to export that auth instance with the variable name auth or just as a default export. And then configure database. Better Auth requires a database to store user data, of course, and you can easily configure Better Auth to use whatever database you're using. Of course, in our case, we are using MongoDB. So we're gonna add this code to the auth.ts file. See here, we're gonna provide that option to the Better Auth instance. We're gonna say database equals to MongoDB adapter, then we're gonna initialize it with a client. Of course, that client is coming from @db, which is your MongoDB client, and the MongoDB adapter is coming from Better Auth adapters MongoDB. Of course, all of that should be added when we installed Better Auth here. And then we're gonna need to create database tables. We're gonna need to create database tables for the user model, right? So in that case, we're gonna need to type that command npx auth at latest generate, and then migrate, which will create the required tables directly in the database. So also we're gonna need to type npx auth at latest migrate. And then we're gonna need to add authentication methods like email and password, social providers. In our case, we're gonna add Google as social providers, and then mount handler. To handle API requests, you need to set up a route handler on the server, an API endpoint like that. We're gonna create API folder inside the app folder, and then auth folder, and then a catch-all route like that. We're gonna name it all, and then a route.ts file, and simply we're gonna add this code to it. And then we're gonna need to create a client instance, because this client-side library will help you interact with the auth server. So we're gonna create a file named authclient.ts and then add this code to it. And you can also export specific methods if you prefer, like sign in, sign up, and use session. We're also gonna need a sign out method. And that's it. But in our case, since we are using Next.js, we're gonna add some extra stuff. So go to integrations here, then go to Next, open it in a new tab. Here in the Next.js integration, as we said, we're gonna create an API route and also create a client instance. Okay, we said that. And this is how you get the session. And for the cookies, we're gonna add this plugin to the Better Auth instance, and make sure that this is the last plugin in that array, in the plugins array, okay? And now when you call functions that set cookies, they will be automatically set, like in that case. And also for the auth protection, we're gonna need to create a proxy.ts file and protect some routes like that. Like here, for example, they are protecting the dashboard route. So if the user is not authenticated, they will be automatically redirected to the sign-in page, okay? And I think this is all we need from this page. Of course, as we said, we're gonna copy and paste all of that and give it to our AI agent. And finally, we're gonna need to read one more thing, which is how to set up the Google provider. So simply here, we're gonna search for Google and choose that option, Google Provider Setup and Usage. In order to implement Google Provider Setup, we're gonna need to get our Google credentials. And we're gonna do so from our Google Console Cloud. So click here. And then let's click here and create a new project. And let's name it Modes Course. There we go. Now click on Create. After you create a new project, go to APIs and Services, then Credentials. See here, we are already redirected to the APIs and Services, so let's go to Credentials. And then we're gonna need to click on Create Credentials and then OAuth Client ID. So here, let's click on Create Credentials and then choose OAuth Client ID. And then choose Web Application. So here, let's choose Web Application. And then we're gonna need to add those redirect URIs. This one for local development and this one for production. Of course, here, we're gonna need to add our domain name. We're gonna get that later when we deploy our application. So let's scroll down here and choose Authorized Redirect URIs and then add URI. And then let's copy that from here and simply paste it here. And then click on Create. Now we get a client ID and a client secret. So actually I'm gonna go here. Let's copy those from here, Google Client ID and Google Client Secret, and paste them here inside the .env file. And let's actually copy their values from here. I'm gonna copy the client ID and then paste it here, and then copy the client secret and also paste it here. And of course, don't forget that these secrets should remain as secrets, okay? You should never expose those secrets to anyone. And actually, I am exposing them for the sake of this tutorial. I'm gonna delete all of that after I finish recording this course. But in your work, in your development work, you should never ever expose your secrets, okay? Now let's save all of that. And here, click on OK. And here, as we said, in order to configure the provider, you need to pass client ID and client secret to socialproviders.google here inside the auth.ts file. And in our case, we're gonna let the AI agent to do that for us. Like for example, here this is a sign-in function. We're gonna say const data equals to await auth client. This auth client equals to create auth client, which comes from Better Auth client. So we're gonna say auth client.signin.social, and the provider is gonna be Google. And actually, that's it. This is all we're gonna need from here. Here, let's go back to our Google console, Google Cloud Console. I think we're gonna need to make some OAuth consent screen. Overview, branding, okay, app information. We're not gonna do anything here. For the audience, we're gonna publish app, and this will allow our application to work properly in production. So we're gonna confirm. There we go. Clients, data access. So I think we're finished here, okay? We're not gonna need to do anything else. So our next step is to, of course, read the authentication prompt. All right, let's read the authentication prompt. For the context, we're gonna tell the AI agent that I will provide 2 documentation pages. The official Better Auth documentation, use it as your reference for everything authentication related. And also the official React hook form documentation, use it as your reference for all form handling. follow the documentation pages exactly. I have already created a Google Cloud project and obtained the Google Client ID and secret, and these are already stored in the .env file, not .env.local. Let's modify this here. There we go. And they are stored as Google Client ID and Google Client Secret. You don't need to set up anything on Google's side. And those are the following environment variables are already in the .env file: Better Auth secrets, URL, Google Client ID and secret, and the MongoDB URI. Okay, what needs to be built? First, the Better Auth server configuration inside libauth.ts file. And this is going to be the main authentication configuration file. And we already read all of that, but we're just gonna add a custom field called role to the user record. It should be a string, not required, not editable by the user directly, and defaults to user. And that role can be either an admin or a normal user. It's gonna be an admin if the new user's email exists in the allowed admin collection in our MongoDB database. And then create the Better Auth clients, the API route, and then create the auth pages. Create a route group here named auth and start by creating a layout for the auth pages. And that layout should be a two-column layout used by both the sign in and sign up pages. See here, we want to create pages like that. If I go to sign up, we want to create something like that. Here on the left side, we want to display the application logo, a slogan, and on the right side, we want to display sign in or sign up forms. Here, like that. And the home page or the landing page is gonna look exactly like the sign in page. So, here in the layout, we want to check if the user already has an active session. If they do, if they are already authenticated, redirect directly to the home page. Otherwise, we're gonna do exactly as we said. On the left side, which is visible only on large screens, show the branding panel, which is gonna have a dark background like that, this color, and display the modes logo from our assets like that. So let's actually add our logo. We're gonna go here to the public folder and add assets folder, which is gonna have our logo here. See? So here, let's continue. We're gonna display a large headline that says, "Listen to music according to your mood." This is branding, and we're gonna make the word mood highlighted in the primary color. Then we're gonna add a subtitle that says your emotions, your soundtrack. And then we're gonna display a copyright line at the bottom. And on the right side, we're gonna render the page content, which is the children. Centered in the middle, the background must be this color. Set it as the background CSS variable in the .dark block in globals.css. So the body's background class picks it up automatically. Okay, then create the sign in and sign up pages. We're gonna create a sign in and sign up forms using React Hook form. So let's take a look at the React Hook form documentation. And actually, we're gonna find that documentation inside the chatcn documentation. So go to their website, ui.chatcn.com, and then go to docs. Then let's start by installing chatcn. We're gonna go to the Next.js framework and then copy that command npx chatcn add latest init, which is going to initialize a new chatcn project preset, and then we're gonna provide some theme, whatever, and then the template is gonna be next, of course, for Next.js. And then whenever you want to add any component, you simply say npx chatcn add latest and then add that component. Like for example, if you want to use the card component, let's take a look at the card components. This one. See here, this is a card component and this is its code. If you want to add that component to your project, as we said, simply copy and paste that comment. So, as we said, let's install chatcn first. Let's go back to our projects, open the terminal, and paste that command here. And simply here, I'm gonna add any theme. Let's say Nova. And then press enter. And now it's installing chatcn. There we go. Now it's installed. It added a button component and a utils file inside the lib folder. Okay. And also I think it added a components.json file. Yeah. This file, leave it as it is. And now let's read the React hook form documentation. This one. If you want to create a form like that, you import Zod resolver from add hook form resolvers Zod and controller and use form from React hook form, and then you create a schema using Zod. Zod is a validation library which will allow you to validate forms, client-side forms. Like for example, here you want to create a form that contains title and description and you validate them this way. You want the title to be a string, so you're gonna say z.string, and of course that z here is coming from Zod. See here, import all as z from Zod. That star means all. Here we are saying import everything from the Zod package as z. So as we were saying, the title is gonna be a string minimum of 5 characters, and in case the user did input less than 5 characters, we're gonna give them this message. The title must be at least 5 characters and maximum of 32 characters, and also in case the user did input more than 32 characters, we're gonna give them that message. And we're gonna do the same for the description. And then you create a form like that. You say const form equals to use form, and that use form coming from React hook form. And then we're gonna infer the type of that form from the form schema that we just created. And then you're gonna say the resolver equals to Zod resolver with that form schema. And that Zod resolver, as we said, coming from add hook form resolvers Zod. And then you provide default values like that. Here they are setting those default values as empty strings. And then you create an onSubmit function. This function will be implemented when the user submits the form. And here you return anything you want. Here they are returning a card that contains that form. See here, this is a form HTML element. You're gonna give it an ID and an onSubmit property, which is gonna be equals to a form.handleSubmit, and then you're gonna provide the onSubmit function that you just created here, this one, as an argument to that function, that handleSubmit function. And as I told you, this function will be implemented when the user submits the form. And then you simply return all of these components from chatcn, elements that you render inside your form. Okay? And that's it. This is how you create forms using React hook form and Zod. So, as usual, we're gonna copy and paste that documentation page and give it to our AI agent. So now let's go back here to our prompt and continue reading. Here we are specifying that we want validations inside the validations folder inside the auth route group. Email must be a valid email address. Password is required. Use React hook form as we said. Show a loading state on the submit button while the request is in progress. Show any error message returned by Better Auth below the form fields. and do the same for the sign up page. And here, of course, on submit, call auth client.signup.email and then redirect to the home page. And here, while signing in, if the user wants to sign in with Google, we're gonna call this function auth client.signin.social and provider equals to Google, and this is the callback URL, and this will redirect the user after successful sign in to the home page. And as we said, those are the validation schemas. This is the files for validation, and those are the rules, the prompt rules. And here we're gonna tell the AI agent to create a root landing page which is equal exactly or looks exactly as the sign in page. And then we're gonna need to add some metadata to the app root layouts. We're gonna add a title equal to modes and this description, which is a short descriptive sentence about our application. And then we're gonna need to add a global background color. We're gonna add it to the globals.css file. The app background color is this color. Set it up like this and implement it like this. And for the expected output, list every file you're about to create, then create them all. Okay, now we're gonna need to head to Claude Code and then tell it read and execute the authentication prompt, and I'm gonna provide all the documentation text that you're gonna need below. Now let's go to the Better Auth documentation, copy all of that, and here I'm gonna say Better Auth docs, and then paste all of that, and also copy the Next.js integration with Better Auth documentation, and then copy the documentation for the Better Auth with Next.js integration, and also paste it here. And then let's copy the Better Auth Google implementation, and also paste it here. And then this is the React hook form documentation. So here we're gonna say React hook form docs. Now let's paste it, and let's also search for implementing dark theme in Tailwind CSS version 4. Let's choose this dark mode in Tailwind CSS, and actually let's also copy all of that as a reference for Claude Code. And here I'm gonna say this is how you implement dark mode in Tailwind version 4, follow with, and also paste it here. Right now, before pressing enter, let me ask you a question. Is there any room for mistakes here? We did provide everything, right? First of all, we wrote a detailed prompt. We told the AI agent whatever it is, everything we need in little detail, right? And then we provided all the documentation that it's going to need. And this way, the AI agent is not gonna consume a lot of tokens. I see a lot of developers consume all of their token usage and maybe buy more credits while they are actually implementing a simple form. And this is waste of money, right? This is not just waste of time. And in order to avoid wasting your money, time, and effort, you should do all of this. You should write detailed prompts and provide all the documentation texts for everything you need. So right now, let's go ahead and press enter. Now it's gonna read the authentication prompt first and check what's already in the project. Now it's checking our logo, and it created a long to-do list for itself. It's gonna start by installing Better Auth, SOD, React hook form, and add hook form resolvers. So I'm gonna say yes. And now it's gonna create everything in large parallel batches. So, in order to save us some time, I'm gonna allow all edits, okay? We already knew everything we want to create. We already read everything. So I'm gonna say allow all edits and let the AI agent do its work, okay? For example, here it finished all of that. See how fast it is? And that speed is also coming from us providing a good prompt. And also we did provide every little detail, as we said, we did provide documentation text and everything. And this will allow the AI agent to work much, much faster. It's not gonna do a lot of thinking, right? Think about it. I hope now you appreciate how valuable the prompts folder is. And now it finished everything and it wants to update the progress tracker in memory. So I'm gonna accept it. And now it's finished. Prompt 3 is complete. Now let's test the authentication feature. I'm gonna start the development server again. I'm gonna type npm run dev. Okay, here we are getting some turbo pack internal error. So I'm gonna copy all of that. And here I'm gonna tell Claude that I got this error. And then simply paste that error and change the mode back to ask before edits because I want to understand what this error is. Now I'm gonna press enter. Okay, here it's telling me the Mongoose docs we used were for an older Next.js version. Really? Okay, let me fix next config file. So, okay, it's gonna remove all of that. Apparently, it's not needed in the Next.js 16 version. So, let's say yes. Now, let's type npm run dev again. And now, apparently, no errors. So, let's open localhost 3000. Okay, we should add the Shadcyan input component. So let me just screenshot this page, and here I'm gonna paste it and tell Claude add the missing components from Shadcyan. Okay, Shadcyan UI components need to be installed, okay? Which are input and label components. And now all three components are in place. So let's go back here, and this is our sign-in page. I think we got a very good result from the first shot, see? As we said, no room for mistakes, right? But let's see that error. Okay, it's a hydration error. Sometimes this happens. I just want to increase the size of the logo. And here, did it create a sign-in route or just create that page in the home route? Let me check here. I'm gonna go to auth. Yeah, it did create a sign-in page here. So we just need to make the sign up form here point to sign-in page. If the user clicks on sign in, we want to redirect them or link them to the sign-in page. So here, if I go to sign up, then click on sign in here, yeah, it will take me to the sign in page. Very nice. And now if I just go to the home page, open the home page or the landing page of the app, I'm gonna get the sign in interface. Very nice. Now let's make that logo a bit bigger. So I'm gonna say make the logo a bit bigger. Okay, so here it's gonna increase the width and height. Let's accept it and see. Okay, I think this is better. Maybe just make the height also 180. And actually, I think I like this interface so much. Now let's test the functionality. I'm gonna start by signing in with Google. Now it's redirecting. There we go. Now I can sign in using my Google email. See here? but I noticed it's using another Google Cloud project. So let me go back here. And apparently we did all the settings for the wrong project. We should do all these settings for the mods course project. So I'm gonna redo everything and I will get back to you, okay? And here, by the way, you should do all of these stuff. I forgot to tell you about it before. And now add the authorized URIs again. Let's go back here, copy that, and then click here and paste it. Then click on create, and then change the client ID and client secret. Right now we are using those values from another project. So let's provide the right values for the right project. So I'm gonna copy that and go back to the .env file and then provide that client ID and then copy that secret and also paste that secret here and then save. There we go. I think we are finished here. Let's also publish the app. Yeah, here in audience, confirm. There we go. Now we are using the right project. And by the way, the feature is working just fine. We just used a different Google Cloud project before, but for the next time we try it, we're gonna use the right project. We already fixed that. And right now I was able to sign in using my Google account, my Google email, and I was redirected to the home page. Now let's try to sign in or sign up using name and email. So I'm gonna go to a website named temp mail, then generate a temporary email, and then paste it here inside the email field. Then let's put any name, let's say Leo Messi, and then let's ask Claude to generate any password for us. I'm gonna tell it generate a strong password and then paste it here. And let's actually provide another password here and click on create account. It's gonna tell me the passwords do not match. Very nice. Now let's provide the right password and let's here remove that M, or let's remove all of that. Yeah, click on create account. It's telling me please enter a valid email address, so I'm gonna provide the valid email address. Okay, very nice. Now before creating an account, I'm gonna tell Claude save that email and the password you created for an account named Leo, or let's say account for a user that has the name Leo Messi. Inside, let's say a project, sorry, not project, a folder named accounts inside this project. Now press enter. Because I want to use these credentials to log back into this account when we implement the logout feature. So here it created accounts folder, then a file named leomessi.md, and it added everything here. Very nice. Now let's go back here and click on create account. There we go, the account is created. And now let's actually go to our database, go to our project, which is mods course, and then go to Data Explorer, and then connect your cluster from here. There we go. Now let's go to test. This is our models. See here, account, allowed admins, session, user, and we should have new users here. See, this is my email, and this is the Leo Messi email that we just created. This is our data. And this is actually very nice. We have completely finished the authentication feature. And now, just take a break, then grab your favorite drink and get back to me, okay? Now, we're gonna talk about one of the most powerful features in modern Next.js, which are server actions. Server actions allow us to run server-side logic directly from our components in a very simple and natural way. So instead of creating separate API routes, handling endpoints, and manually connecting everything, we can write the server logic exactly where we need it and call it directly from our user interface. And this makes our code much cleaner, easier to understand, and easier to maintain. They're extremely important because they simplify how we handle things like creating posts, updating data, deleting records, and interacting with the database, all in a secure server-only environment. The client never sees the sensitive logic, which makes our applications safer by default. Server actions also improve the developer experience significantly. We write less boilerplate, we move faster, and the connection between the front end and the back end becomes seamless. Instead of thinking in terms of separate front end and back end layers, Next.js allows us to think in terms of features and functionality. You see, this is one of the key reasons why Next.js is such a powerful full-stack framework today. It gives us a clean, modern, and efficient way to build real production-ready applications. Alright, now that the authentication is in place, it's time to introduce the admin side of our application, right? In this lecture, we're gonna create the admin feature, which will give us a dedicated area for managing and overseeing the platform. We'll set up the necessary structure, protect admin-only routes, and prepare the foundation for any administrative functionality we want to add later. By the end of this lecture, we're gonna have a secure admin system integrated into our application and ready for future features. And since any admin will have the ability to upload tracks to our platform, we're gonna need to start by integrating UploadThing. So I need you to head over to the UploadThing official website, which is uploadthing.com, and then go to documentation, and then choose Next.js app router. And first of all, we're gonna need to install the UploadThing package. So we're gonna install one for the back end and another one for the front end. So let me copy that, and let's go back to my terminal and simply paste that command here. Press enter, and then of course, whenever we use a third-party service, we're gonna need some token or a secret for that service. So we're gonna create an UploadThing token variable inside the .env file. So let me copy that, and let me go to the .env file and paste that here. And let's actually generate a token. So I'm gonna go to my dashboard, then create a new app. Let's name it Moods Course, then choose the free tier, and then click on Create App, and then go to API keys, and then copy that, and simply paste it here. There we go. Now let's read the rest of the documentation. First of all, we're gonna need to set up a file router, which is similar to an endpoint. So it's kind of UploadThing endpoint, where we're gonna allow users to upload any type of file, like images, videos, audios, and so on. We're gonna create this file inside API, then UploadThing, and we're gonna name it core.ts, and this is going to be our endpoint. And here on upload complete, we can do anything we want. Like here, for example, we can return some data. And then we're gonna need to create a route.ts file as an API endpoint to the upload thing. And then here, we're gonna create an upload button and upload drop zone and export both of them inside this file, source utils upload thing.ts. Basically, you can create this file inside any location you want. And since we are using Tailwind version 4, we're gonna add this code. And this is a usage example. In the client side, we're gonna render the upload button, provide the endpoint, and on client upload complete, we can do anything we want. And on error, also, we can do anything we want. And this is for improving server-side rendering. We're gonna have to add these stuff to the app layout file, and we are done. So as usual, all we're gonna need to do is to copy that documentation page and give it to our AI agent. But first, let's actually read the admin prompt. Admin feature prompt. We're gonna start by giving the AI agent a context as usual. I'm gonna tell it I will provide the official upload thing documentation page, read it carefully, and implement everything. I already have the upload thing token. And then what needs to be built? This section covers everything related to the admin feature, like the file upload setup, the upload form, the admin page, and the success page, and also the server action that saves the track. Of course, by now you are already familiar with server actions, right? We explained what server actions are in the previous section. And we're also gonna need some seed script for pre-approving admin emails. For the upload thing setup, as we said, we're gonna need to create an uploadthing.ts file, which is gonna export two ready-to-use upload components, as we said, upload button and upload drop zone. And then create the core.ts file, which should allow for these kind of uploads. A track audio of size 64 megabytes. This is for admin users only. Also a track cover 4 megabytes and also for admin users only. Of course, this is an audio, this is the file type, and this is an image, and also a profile photo for any signed in user, which is gonna be an image of size 2 megabytes. And then create an upload thing API route endpoint, and then add the server-side rendering plugin to the app layout file. Here, remember, they said that we need to add this to the app layout. And then for the server action, we're gonna need to create a folder named server and then folder named actions inside of it, and an admin.actions.ts file inside of this folder. And this file should include the function that runs on the server when the admin submits the upload form. It should verify the user has an active session and it's an admin. If not, return an error. And it also should validate the submitted data using a ZOD schema. Then it should connect to the database and save a new track document. On success, redirect the user, that admin user, to admin success. Wrap everything in a try-catch block and return a DB fail if something goes wrong with the database. The function should receive a form data object and return an action result. And this is the validation schema for the track. We're gonna name it uploadTrack.ts. Each track should include a title, which is required and must not be empty, and also an artist, which is required and also must not be empty. And then create the upload form, which will use upload drop zone, and on submit, we will call the upload track server action. Of course, also use React hook form for that form, and then create the admin page, the admin layout, and the success page. And then create a seed script file named seedadmins.ts. This is a one-time script that will pre-populate the allowed admin collection in our database. with a list of emails. I'm gonna give the AI agent my own email, okay? So basically give it any emails you want to add. So this file should connect to the database using connect to database, loop through a hard-coded list of email addresses, and for each email, insert it into the allowed admin only if it doesn't already exist. Use upsert so running the script multiple times is safe. And then add that script to the package.json file, which will run the script file. And this is for error handling and not found fallbacks, and those are the rules, and this is the output. So right now, let's go back to Claude and tell it, read the admin prompts, and I will provide the upload thing documentation below, and the email I want to add as an allowed email, okay? Now I'm gonna copy the upload thing documentation and simply paste it here. And then I'm gonna say this is my email, add it as an allowed email. Press enter. Now it's gonna read the admin prompt. Now it's gonna check for the installed dependencies. Okay, everything is already installed. This file action result doesn't exist yet, so it's gonna create it. And now, as usual, it created a huge to-do list for itself. So I'm gonna allow all edits to save us some time. See here, it's doing everything we asked for. Now it will install a package named Sunner. Let me show it to you. Let's go to ChatCN and search for Sunner or Sunner. I'm not sure how it should be pronounced. Yeah, this one. And this package or this Sunner package will give us that toast. When I click on that button, it will give me a toast like that. We want that toast in our application, okay? When the upload is successful, I want to show a toast to the admin user like that. And also it will add skeleton for loading skeletons. And now create the upload form, which is the most complex component. Now it's adding the seed script, exactly as we asked for. And finally, update the progress tracker. So let's accept it. And now the admin feature is fully implemented. Prompt 4 is complete. Here is everything that was created. See, this is a lot of stuff. And the only thing we're gonna need to do is to run that seed command in order to insert by email in the allowed admin collection. So I'm gonna copy that command, then go to my terminal and paste it here. Press enter. Okay, it's telling me that TSX is not recognized. Apparently it's not installed. So I'm gonna copy that and then paste it here inside of Claude, then give it to Claude. Okay, it will add npx here right before the tsx command. So let's accept it. Now it's telling me to run that command again. Okay, let's go back to the terminal and run it one more time. There we go, my email is added and it's all done. Let's check those problems. Oh, those are some ESLint problems, no worries. Actually, let's copy them and give it to Claude. It's gonna fix them, so let's accept it. Okay, both fixed. We're having another problem, so let's copy that, paste it here. Okay, it's telling me that the warning I'm seeing is stale. Just refresh the IDE. Okay, so I'm gonna leave it for now. It's nothing crucial. And let's actually go to our database, reload it, and then check the allowed admin collection. There we go. I can see my email has been added here. So, okay, first of all, I'm gonna try to go to the admin route from another email, an email that's not in the allowed admin emails, and see what's gonna happen. It redirected me to the home page. I'm not allowed to access the admin route. Very nice. Now let's actually try to access the admin route using my email, which is included in the admin or the allowed admin collection. So I'm gonna go to admin. Oh, I'm also redirected to the home page. There is something wrong. So okay, let's go back to Claude and explain the problem to it. I'm gonna tell it that right now I tested the admin feature and I accessed, or let's say I tried to access the admin route using my email, which is this email, and it is included in the allowed admins, but I was redirected to the home route. So check this issue for me. Okay, here it's telling me that the layout and auth config look correct. The most likely cause that your account was registered before the seed script ran. Okay, yeah, I got it. This means that the database hook never fired for the user and role was never set. Yeah, meaning that I was never set as an admin because we did run that script, that seed script, after I already registered an account. And here it wants to run some script, but actually I'm gonna deny that. And the quickest fix is to delete my own account from here and just register an account one more time. So I'm gonna delete it. And then let's go back to our application. And now, since I'm not authenticated, I'm gonna need to sign in again. There we go. And now I'm logged into the Moods app. When I go to admin, I should see the admin interface. Yeah, and it looks very nice, by the way. But let's try to access the admin route from a different email one more time. And it's working just fine. It redirected me to the home page since I'm not allowed to access the admin route from this account. But here, since I'm allowed to access the admin route, it will show me the admin interface. And now let's actually test it. Let's try to upload some files. And actually I have some tracks here. I'm gonna copy them. And then I'm gonna go to my project and simply paste them here. And later I'm gonna push them to GitHub so you can find them in the GitHub repository. You can download and use them if you want. Now let's try to upload a cover image. I'm gonna go to tracks. Let's choose anything. I'm gonna choose this one. Yeah. Upload the file. Okay, we're getting a Next.js error here. See? It's telling us that invalid source prop. We are getting some URL from upload thing that's not registered in the next.config file. So simply I'm gonna copy that and then go back to Claude and tell it add this domain to the next config file. There we go, it will add it like that inside images, remote patterns, protocol HTTPS of course, and this is the host name that we want to add. So let's accept it. And now it's done. Let's reload the admin page, then upload the cover photo again. There we go, it's uploaded, and we are getting a preview here. Now let's upload the track, this one. This is an audio file. Click on upload. There we go, it's also uploaded, and we get a preview here. Let's actually play that audio. As you can see, it's... Now let's add a title and an artist name. But let's actually test the validation. I'm gonna try to click on upload track, and yeah, it's telling me that title is required and artist is also required. So I'm gonna go to the tracks, copy that track name, and then let's put it as a title here, and let's remove that and put it here as an artist. I think this is the artist name, I'm not sure, but it's okay. I'm gonna upload the track now. There we go, track uploaded. We are redirected to the admin success page. Now let's try to upload another. Choose file, let's go to this one, upload the image, we get a preview, then let's upload the track itself. We also get a preview, let's play it. Okay, it's working. Now let's copy its name, add it here, and let's add the artist name here. There we go, now let's upload it. Very nice. Now it's uploaded and it should be created in our database, right? Let's go ahead and check it out. Let's go back to our database, reload it. Then let's go to tests, tracks, and those are our tracks. See here? This is the audio URL. Let's copy it. Let's paste it here. And this is our actual track. Let's play it. Very nice. Everything is working properly. And there is actually one thing that I noticed here, that we don't have a favicon. See that icon next to the title? We already have a title, which is moods, and I think we added a description to the metadata. If I inspect it here and go to head, let's scroll down here until we find meta, title, moods, and here meta, name, description, which is our description or the description that we just added. And this is very important for search engines in order to be able to index our application. So let's actually add a favicon here. Simply I'm gonna go to a website named favicon.io and choose this one, png2ico, and then click here, and let's go to the project, our project, and upload our logo. We're gonna add our logo as a favicon, and now it's ready here. Download favicon package. Let's download it here inside our desktop. And now let's go back to our desktop, refresh it. This is our favicon folder, and this is our actual favicon file. We're gonna copy it, and then go to our project, go to app, and simply paste that favicon file, and that's it. We have added a favicon for our application. Let's reload our application. See here, the favicon has been added next to the title. And right now we have finished the admin feature, and we are ready to move on to our next feature, which is actually allowing the users to browse those tracks that I just uploaded and stream them inside their browser. And now that we have the foundation of the application in place, it's time to build the most important part of the project, which is the home route. This is where users will spend most of their time and where the core music streaming experience comes to life. In this lecture, we'll start building the main interface that users interact with, including the layouts, music discovery experience, playback related features, and everything needed to make the app feel like a real streaming platform. By the end of this section, we'll have the heart of the application taking shape and delivering the experience that users came for. And of course, we're gonna start by reading the homepage prompt. Okay, homepage prompt. For the context, we're gonna tell the AI agent Now, this prompt covers everything that makes up the authenticated home experience: the layout, the navbar, the track cards, the search overlay, the audio player, and the home page itself. All data fetching happens on the server. As we said before, remember? Page components, which are server components, okay, fetch data and pass it down as props to the UI components, which probably are going to be client components. Of course, not in all cases, but most probably, or most of them, are going to be client components, which should never fetch data directly. As we said before, they either receive it as props or trigger server actions when the user does something. Okay, what needs to be built? We're gonna create a file for the shared types. Inside app home types.ts file, we're gonna create a type for the track, another one for the user, playlist, and playlist with tracks, which is gonna extend the playlist and adds a tracks array of track objects. Then create a layout for the home, which is gonna render a navbar at the top, passing the user object to it, and render the player component, which is the persistent bottom bar outside the scrollable content area. And of course, that player will appear when the user plays their first track. Like here, no player is shown, no player is displayed, right? If I click here on any player, we're gonna get a player, and then that player is gonna have a persistent state in order to allow the user to switch between tracks like that. And then we're gonna tell the AI agent to create a navbar, which will contain the search functionality, and a user dropdown, which will allow the user to upload a profile photo, and a logout button, which will allow the user to sign out using sign out from Better Auth. And this is the search overlay. It will contain all the search functionality, and as we said before, we're gonna apply debouncing in the search, and then we're gonna render some track cards. So we're gonna need to create a component for the track card, and then add to playlist button next to each track. When the user clicks on that button, like here for example, if I click on that button, it will open an overlay like that, or drop-down menu like that, showing me my playlists so that I can add it to that playlist, for example, the workout playlist. See here, added to workout. And then the player context, as we said, this is what's going to persist the audio player state and makes it available to any component in the app. It should manage current track, queue, is playing or not, and a single audio element managed via ref, and there will be only one audio element for the entire application. And it should expose these functions: a function to play the track, a function to pause it, a function to resume the track, a function to play the next track, and another one to play previous track. And then the player bar itself, we're gonna create a component for it named player.tsx. It should be invisible when no track is playing, as I told you. Have a dark background. On the left section, the tracks cover image. On the center section, 3 control buttons: skip previous, play pause, and skip next. And on the right section, a volume icon button that toggles mute when clicked, and also has volume slider, like this one here. If I click here, it's gonna mute, then unmute, then I can control the volume slider like that. And then we're gonna create a server action file for the home actions. Those are going to be our server actions for this feature: get recommendations, get most played tracks, search tracks. In order to allow the user to search for a certain track, it's gonna take a query and return the result. A record play action, which is gonna silently write a new play history record for the current user, and also fails silently if an error happened. Since play tracking is non-critical, okay? Attach play counts in order to show the play counts next to each track. Like here, C1 play, 2 play, 4 plays, and so on. Then create the home page itself, get all the recommendations using the promise.all in order to apply parallel fetching. If the user has most played tracks, show them under your music section, and also show a good vibes section below with the recommended tracks, and then pass the full list of tracks in each section as the queue. Pass these tracks to each track card, so clicking play on any card queues up all the tracks in that section. And then error loading and not found callbacks, and those are the rules, and this is the output. Okay, now I'm gonna tell Claude, read and execute the home page prompt. As usual, it created a to-do list for itself, so I'm gonna allow all edits. Now it's gonna create the UI components in parallel. Now it wants to add some Chat-CM components like a slider component, so I'm gonna say yes. And as usual here, it's gonna update the progress tracker in the memory. There we go. Now the feature is implemented. Prompt 5 is complete. Now let's go ahead and test the home page. Let's go to home. Oh, we're getting the same image source problem, remember? So let's screenshot the page, and I'm gonna go here to Claude and tell it fix this error by adding those domains to the next config file. Okay, it's gonna add this. There we go. Let's go back here and reload the page. And this is our home page. As you can see, this is a loading skeleton. And those are our tracks, good vibes. This is the nav bar. This is the drop-down menu. Since I'm an admin, I can upload track from here. I can change my profile photo from here. Okay, where should we start testing? Let's play that track and see the player. As you can see, everything is working. Very, very nice. Let's try to search for something. We have gone away and everything. Okay, let's type G. Okay, O. Okay, we have one result. Let's say E, V, E again. Okay, everything. Let's try something that doesn't exist. Okay, no results. Very, very nice. So the search is actually working sharp. Let's try to log out. Okay, it's working. Let's log back in. And now I'm signed back in. And this is your music section since I played those tracks. So everything looks great. Now let's move on to our next feature, which is My Playlists feature. Now that the main music streaming experience is in place, it's time to add playlists. Playlists are one of the most important features in any music streaming application because they allow users to organize their favorite songs and create personalized listening experiences, right? So in this lecture, which is our final lecture, we're gonna build the complete playlist functionality, allowing users to create playlists, manage them, and add or remove songs as they like. By the end, our users will have a much more personalized and engaging experience within the app. So let's go ahead and read the playlists prompt. For the context, we're gonna tell the AI agent that this prompt covers the full playlists feature, the playlists page, the single playlist detail page, the server actions that power them, and all the UI components involved. By the time this is built, the homepage, player context, track card, and add to playlist button should already exist. This feature builds on top of them. What needs to be built? We're gonna need those server actions, some playlist actions. Get user playlists with tracks, get playlists by ID to get a single playlist, and some mutation actions like create a playlist, delete a playlist, add a track to playlists, and remove track from playlist. And those are going to be the validation schemas. And this is a dialog to create a playlist. We're gonna create it as a single component, and probably we're gonna need to use dialog from ShadCN inside of it. And this is the playlist card. Be a clickable card that links to home playlists ID, which is a single playlist page, and then create the playlists page, which should fetch all the user's playlists, show a heading saying my playlists, and if the user has no playlists, show a centered empty state message, otherwise show them in a responsive grid. And then create the single playlist page, which is gonna render a track row. We're gonna display tracks under each others, like here. If I go to my playlists, then choose any playlist, we want to display tracks inside that playlists in rows like that. And then those are the error and loading states, those are the rules, and this is the expected output. So here let's go to Claude and tell it read and execute the playlists prompt. As usual, it created a to-do list for itself with all the playlist features, and it's gonna start with server actions. So let's actually allow all edits. As I told you, it's gonna use a dialog from ShadCN, so it's gonna need to install it. There we go. The playlists feature is completed. Now let's test it. Let's go to my playlists. Very nice. This is the empty state message. Now let's try to create a new playlist. I'm gonna name it my tracks. Okay. Click on create. There we go. This is the playlist. Let me go back home and add some tracks to that playlist. Very nice. Now let's go back to my playlists and play that playlist. Very nice. It seems that everything is working just fine. And now actually we've finished. I need you to try to upload some more tracks, maybe upload real songs, real tracks, so later you can launch this as a real SaaS and monetize it as much as you want. Our final step here is to go ahead and deploy that application online. And in order to do so, we're gonna use Vercel. So go to vercel.com and create your own account. And I need you to log in using your GitHub account because we're gonna import our repo from GitHub to Vercel right away. Then after you log in, click here on add a new project, and then see here, this is why we did logged in using GitHub, in order to be able to import our project right from GitHub. So I'm gonna click on import, and this is the application preset Next.js, leave it as it is. And now let's add our environment variables. So let me go to the .env file and copy everything from here, and let's paste them here. And before I click on deploy, I want to do one final thing. From my own experience, when I push this project to production, some packages will cause some problems for me. It will cause some errors. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to remove these packages after installation. And this is why I'm going to add this script to the package.json file scripts, which is post-install, meaning that after we install the packages, remove these packages. And don't worry, we don't need these packages at all. It's not gonna cause any problems for us functionality-wise, okay? So simply, I'm gonna copy that command or that script and then go to our project, go to the package.json file, and here I'm gonna add that script. As I told you, when I push to production, this script is gonna make sure that after all the packages and modules are installed, these specific packages are going to be removed, okay? And now we have to push to GitHub first. Before deploying or before clicking deploy on Vercel, we have to push all the changes, all that we have done to GitHub. So here I'm gonna say git add all and then git commit message. Let's say finishing the project and deploying it, and then git push. And now it's finished. All the changes has been pushed to GitHub, and this is our final code base. Clean, organized, and production ready. And now if we go to our GitHub repository, we can see our whole project here. Now I can safely go back here and click on deploy. And now finally, congratulations, our app is deployed online. Let's continue to dashboard, and this is our application. This is our domain name. First of all, let's copy it and let's go to our environment variables here and edit that Better Auth URL from localhost to that domain name. Now save and redeploy. And now it's ready. This is our application online. Let's take a look at it. I'm gonna sign in using my email. Oh, access blocked because we have to add that production URL to the Google Console project, remember? So let me copy that and let's go back to the Google Console, go to Clients, Web Clients 1, and here add URI. I'm gonna paste this and then add the rest of the path. There we go. Click Save. And now let's try again. I'm gonna sign in with Google. And this is our application, deployed online and everything. Of course, as I told you, try to upload some more tracks and charge it with more data. And this is the end of our journey here. I hope you've enjoyed this course, and please tell me in the comments below what are the projects that you want to see me build in the future on this channel. See you later, have a great day, and bye-bye!